Hello and welcome back to the Survival Horror Guide, a show where we play and then review survival horror games. We rate them on their fear factor, and we give them an overall score. Finally, we send it over to the series' totally arbitrary rating system to see how it stacks up against the rest of the survival horror competition. Today for the show, something a little bit different, 2 for 1. We are reviewing Little Nightmares 1 and 2. Little Nightmares is a horror puzzle platformer with a dash of stealth thrown in there, developed by the Sweden-based Tarsier Studios. And you know, it's kind of interesting to see their pedigree, what games they made in the past, and then look at Little Nightmares because it's like, oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense. You know, you can see the connection. From the Vita version of Little Big Planet 3, Tearaway, all the way back to PS3's Ragdoll Kung Fu, which I totally used to play and I feel like I'm the only one. And now you have Little Nightmares. They definitely have a distinct style and aesthetic. And going from those more family-friendly games to horror, it translated really well in a pretty unique way. I will say, as soon as I started playing, it definitely gave me flashbacks to Playdead's games, particularly Inside, which we did play on the channel back in the day. And you know, the fact that it reminds me of Playdead's games, that's a good thing. Those games are freaking awesome. Oh god! Ah! Okay, so I am bundling Little Nightmares 1 and 2 together in this video, which might be a bit of a cop-out, but after finishing them both back to back, they're both fundamentally so similar that to me it just kind of makes sense. The games both start with your character waking up in a strange environment, in the middle of a forest or in the bowels of a cruise ship respectively. There's absolutely no in-game story, introduction, or anything like that. In fact, this game's entire narrative is kept very sparse. It leans heavily on environmental storytelling, and really only those who examine the little details in Little Nightmares and spend the time to piece it all together will be able to tell you what these games are really about. And even then, there's a lot left to interpretation. But I think that's cool. They're the kind of games where even days after completing them, I was still thinking about the story and what everything meant. And while I'm not afraid to admit I don't think I've fully wrapped my head around everything, even I could spot the symbolism of gluttony, overconsumption, television and corrupting people's minds, becoming dependent on screens, which ultimately resulted in the decay of civilization, and that's really just scratching the surface. There's a lot here. Oh god! Each of the game's monsters are super memorable and disturbing in their own unique way, because they're all just people. They're adults, whereas you play as the kids, and they all have some sort of disturbing, messed up quirk or deformation. They really are the stuff of nightmares, and most of the time all you can really do is hide, or try to avoid them because get caught and it's instant death. And this is where I think the game starts to show some of its flaws. The stealth and sneaking, they just felt kind of inconsistent. Where one moment you're like, wow, I can't believe he didn't see me. And the next you're like, how the fuck did he see me? And sometimes while being pursued by one of the game's monsters, sometimes the only way past some of these obstacles is simply trial and error. You often find yourself being chased, and unless you already know exactly what to do, you're going to get killed. I get that in the process you learn. It's about learning from your mistakes, but I kind of wish there was less of an emphasis on trial and error. Okay, so here's the thing. We're gonna go down this way. What? How many times have I died in this game already? But above all, the biggest issue I had with both games was how they controlled. Your character has a very specific sense of weight and momentum, and they need to animate in a specific way, which makes the game feel very floaty and unresponsive. I really felt it in the first game, and it didn't get fixed in the second. I never felt like I was really in control of my character. The game controls like gang beasts or something. I can't tell you how many times I'd just be running and go completely off the edge unintentionally, so many times. Maybe there's a drift. Or where I'm running from one of the monsters and I try to squeeze through a hole or something to escape, but because I'm not at the exact perfect angle, they just won't go through the hole. Too many times. This is easily my biggest complaint about the game. No fucking way, I got stuck on the side of the And yet, at the same time, the game does so many things so well. The puzzle designs are truly great. You know, I've been playing video games my whole life, and because of that, when I see a puzzle in a 3D platformer, often the answer is pretty obvious. A lot of these games follow the same patterns and use similar ideas, but Little Nightmares does a really good job of subverting your expectations. It'll lead you to believe the puzzle is going to be solved one way when the real answer is something you'd never expect. The game fucked with my head so much that there are points where if the answer to the puzzle seemed too obvious, I wouldn't even try it because there's no way that could be it. And that it was. The game got in my head. Now that I've finished both games, I get it. I get the hype. They're popular for a reason. I can't believe it's taken me basically 4 years to finally get around to playing the first one. And the second game definitely delivers as a satisfying sequel, although it's actually a prequel, that builds and expands on the Little Nightmares mythology, if you will. The main character of the first game serves as a secondary companion character in the second, and each game wraps up with a climactic, mind-bending twist that you may or may not see coming. Both are awesome, you should play them both. On the fear factor scale, these games are a 7.5. The monsters are unique and terrifying and will definitely exploit certain phobias. There's this one area in the second game that I nearly missed, where you need to use your flashlight to fend off these mannequins that only move in the dark. It was awesome. Overall, I score the Little Nightmares games an 8.5. These games are definitely elevated by their puzzle design and the uniquely terrifying settings and characters. I would give them a 9 if it weren't for all the problems I had with the game's controls, inconsistent stealth, and reliance on trial and error. Not like that, dude! Now taking it over to the series' totally arbitrary rating system, Little Nightmares will share the same ranking and slide in at number 6. Pretty damn good. I gotta say, the decisions on these rankings, though, are getting harder and harder to make every video. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Survival Horror Guide. As always, please let me know what you thought about it, and hit the like button if you enjoyed it. And also let me know if the series' totally arbitrary rating system, if the Little Nightmares ranking is justified, if it's legit, where would you put it? Please let me know. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.